Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. And I certainly hope that you have been enjoying the symposium so far. There's lots of great stuff going on, and I know there's still so much more to happen later today and the next couple of days. But I really appreciate you taking your time out and joining me. My name is Michelle Felix. I am a body mind coach, and I was diagnosed with ocular melanoma just over 2.5 years ago. I came into contact with the Melanoma Research Foundation as I was Googling online. And yes, maybe in the beginning, I should not have been Googling because, as many of you might know, Dr. Google is a horrible physician. But I did find some wonderful resources, and that's how I came across the MRF. I have actually been a volunteer advocate for them. I love to participate in their annual Hill Days, which, if any of you aren't already aware of, we are actually doing a virtual version of that next year in March. So that email came out yesterday, so I certainly hope you check that out. And I've been using that as a way to speak for others, not only with just the melanoma community, but those of us with OM, since, as we all know, we are a rare, special bunch. I like to make sure that people are definitely aware of what we go through. So I'm so excited to be here today. And what I'd like to share with you is something that is near and dear to my heart that I have used with body mind coaching, and it's embracing your inner pirate. And I will give you a little bit of a forewarning. If you haven't already figured out by the name of my presentation and also my headshot, I love humor. And I use humor as a way to express what I'm going through in my cancer journey. And that's part of the thing that today I wanted to be a little bit different, is to offer a little bit of comic relief, but then also offer 3 powerful tools that you can use to express yourself and to adjust to your new normal every step of your cancer journey. And part of that also warning is I like to use puns. They're often eye related. They're also pirate related. I know this isn't a shock at this point in time. However, that's what I like to do. If that's not your cup of tea, bear with me, but you can't say you haven't been warned. But I'd like to talk today about something that really isn't discussed a whole lot. And I will say that in the end of March of 2018, I needed a new pair of eyeglasses. And while I was there, in hindsight, I had symptoms of retinal detachment. However, it wasn't anything serious enough for me to concern about. I've had poor vision almost my whole life. The first pair of my glasses was at the end of first grade. And I just chalked it up. Hey, I'm getting older. Now I can't see, close up. I already had issues seeing far away. So, I have these kind of weird circles of light in my eye, or, little lava lamp going on. Okay, no biggie. Well, at the insistence, if maybe almost a little bit of a nagging from my husband, I did go see my local optometrist. And that led to finding out I had a retinal detachment, which I wasn't even sure what that was. The next thing I knew, he made an appointment for me later that afternoon with a retinal specialist. 10 days after that, I met an ocular oncologist. 10 days after that, I had plaque. That is a whole lot to deal with. And I remember when I was meeting my ocular oncologist, March 5th, 2018, I think a lot of us understand our cancerversaries and have various cancerversaries. It was at the end of a very long day, lots of exams, lots of imaging. And I was sitting there in a small exam room. It was a teaching, well, it still is a teaching hospital. There was at least maybe 7 of us in this room. I can't even remember the count. And my doctor was dictating what would be my medical letter of my diagnosis. And I'm sitting there, and I'm also a massage therapist, which I've been for 11 years. And what little medical knowledge I had, I was trying to piece together what they were saying with prefixes and suffixes and trying to understand what the heck is going on. And then I heard the unmistakable word melanoma. I gasped, I started to cry, and I'm fairly certain on that recording you can hear the F-bomb that my husband dropped. I had ocular melanoma, choroidal melanoma to be exact. I was blindsided. I was in a state of disbelief, and a lot of movies that we watch love to show when people get cancer diagnoses that everything kind of blurs together, and all of a sudden we're like in a Peanuts cartoon with Charlie Brown, and you don't really hear what people are saying. And that really is accurate of a depiction, and it's kind of strange. And that's when my whole life changed. And when you go through a diagnosis, you go through many different cycles. And one of those is that you start to censor yourself. You start holding back because it makes other people feel bad or it makes them feel sad. And so you don't share everything. During my time between my diagnosis and getting plaque, I was still in a state of disbelief. And I was making jokes. And my husband and I like to dress like pirates. Big surprise there at this point now that you've joined. And so I had this huge thing that, well, if I lost my eye, I was going to have this elaborate eye patch. And then when we go to the Renaissance Fair, I'll leave the prosthetic out. So when people like, oh, you're just, you're being a poser or whatever. And I'm like, well, why don't you take a look underneath? And there's nothing there, and it freaks everyone out. And I just thought it was the most hilarious thing ever. Well, my husband did not. My sense of humor, and sometimes it can be a little macabre. That's how I was coping at the time with what I was about to do. And so I started to learn maybe I need to hold back a little bit. And I think that's what a lot of those of us happen. You start to put on a brave face and you start to be positive and you turn a blind eye to what's really going on inside of you. And that pressure to be positive, whether you're the patient, the caregiver, your friends and family that are around you, it can be overwhelming, and it can actually lead to toxic positivity because people will say all sorts of crazy things, and they're not malicious, but hang in there. You're tough. You're a fighter. You're strong. Oh, it's not that bad. You got a good kind of cancer. There's all sorts of things. And so you don't want to make these people feel even worse. So you keep it in. And what I want to talk about today also is how I accepted my diagnosis and the constant readjustment to the new normals. Because let's face it, we get a new normal when we get the diagnosis, but then that normal can change throughout the whole time. I experienced vision loss. Just at the end of September this year, I had cataract surgery. And after that, then it discovered I've got radiation retinopathy, and now I've got macular edema, and I'm about to go through treatments for that. All of us have gone through many different new normals. It's always a constant change. And so there has to be some sort of level of flexibility to be at. And I want to be able to share with you 3 steps to express yourself and adjust to those new normals during every step of your cancer journey. And there are ways to release energy and tension that you're holding so you can feel grounded into the present. Now, the first step is journaling. This isn't rocket science. This is probably not new to any of you that are watching. And I was resistant to this at first. I've never been a journal writer, not even as a teenage girl. I tried it for a bit, didn't work very well. However, several months after I was done with plaque, depression had started to set in. And I saw an oncology social worker. She suggested journaling. So I had all sorts of thoughts that are swirling in my head that nobody seemed to want to hear. And I felt bad then about sharing it because I didn't want to make my loved ones feel any worse than they already did. So I resigned to the fact and said, fine, okay, I'll try journaling. So I bought a new journal. It says Carpe Diem on the front. I'm not really sure why I did that because that's usually not my thing. Something maybe Nightmare Before Christmas would have been more appropriate. How maybe a pirate, but that's what I did. So I started to let it all out. And I journal in a stream of consciousness. It doesn't make any sense. And I write till my hand crimps. And I processed all the feelings, the good, the bad, the ugly. I got it all out of my body onto that piece of paper. And I let myself feel it. I didn't keep it down inside. And there are some dark thoughts that are in that journal that I've never told a single soul. And that is okay. And while I was doing this, one of the biggest things that I discovered was that the journal doesn't judge you. It wasn't going to talk back to me and tell me, oh, you shouldn't think that. That's not very good. You should be more positive. It doesn't judge you. And it's a safe place to truly express everything that's going on. And the other thing that I discovered is that there's no need to reread. You get it all out of your body, all out of your head. It's onto that paper. I don't want to reabsorb it. I have not reread a single word that I wrote. And frankly, I have such horrible handwriting that I probably wouldn't be able to understand it anyway. So I let it all out. Another way, because I have it squirreled away, so if I need to use it, I know where it is. However, another way to release all of that energy, for those of us, I know this is a global symposium that are entering colder months though, fireplaces, bonfires, or an outdoor fire pit. Burn it. That's a lovely way to just release all of that energy that you don't want to carry around anymore. Another step that I like is engaging your senses. And this can be used in a myriad of things and is so super easy. It's as simple as rubbing your fingertips together. Now I'm putting my hand up for illustrative purposes, but you can just keep your hand in your lap down by your side. I love to do this at doctor's offices while we're waiting for scans, because as we all know, scanxiety is a real thing. Rubbing your palms together. Most of these hospitals and offices are so cold anyway, people will just chalk it up to that you're trying to get warm. But it's a great way to ground yourself back into your body and get out of all the swirliness that's going in your head of what's going to happen, what might show up on the scan, when's my next doctor appointment, have I put all the drops in my eyes that I need to today because I think I might have forgotten one. All those things. It just helps to ground you down. My favorite, and this might come as a total shock to those people watching, is humor. I love humor. That has helped me so much during my cancer journey, and it still does. I love these little silly comics that I've included in these slides. And it's a different way to process your feelings and talk about it instead of keeping it in. And sometimes you've cried all that you want to cry to where you have run yourself dry. And I just didn't want to shed tears anymore. So laughter is the best medicine. And oh my goodness. And even if it's something where it's just laughing with yourself and not sharing it with others, that's fine. That's great. Find an outlet that works for you. And laughter is a great way to be able to release a lot of that energy, a lot of that what if that's going on in yourself. Writing poetry, that could also be possibly an outlet that you might pursue. Being an advocate, like I mentioned at the beginning of this, I've been an advocate for the Melanoma Research Foundation, and I love to have been able to go up to Capitol Hill and speak with the members of Congress and tell them the importance of this disease. Wherever I go, if I meet people, hey, have you gotten your eyes dilated? It's something that allows me an outlet. And another outlet for me that I like to do is I like to dress up. And I dress up in different centuries. Some of it's, actually trying to be period correct. Some of it's just for fun and fantasy. You'll see here, I'm in my full pirate regalia. Absolutely love it. My husband and I like to dress in 1940s and 50s, and we do actually go swing dancing. And we are certainly anxious to be able to do that again when that is safe to do and go all out. And I also like to dress as a Union soldier in the Civil War. That's me in that picture. I'm the shortest one there, but that's okay because I have more stripes than most of them. It makes me happy. It brings me joy. And I've got to say, when I had my plaque, all of my initial diagnosis and plaque was in the beginning of 2018. And I was done March 19th. That's when my plaque was removed. The first Civil War event that I was able to go to was in July, and it happened to be the 155th anniversary of the Battle of Gettysburg. I do actually have ancestors that fought for Pennsylvania, which is where I'm originally from. And they did fight there at Gettysburg. And it was a 5-day event. It's a long event. It's a hot event. And I enjoyed every minute of it. On my way home, as I often do, I called my mom and give her all the little details and everything that happened during that. And she told me that it was the happiest that I sounded all year. That's my outlet. And the thing is that this diagnosis can isolate you. It brings up a whole lot of stuff, including mortality, which a lot of people don't like to discuss and makes them pretty uncomfortable. And when you have something this rare, you're isolated even more. And so finding support can be difficult. And there's lots of positive groups online. I know that I have found that as well. When you're looking for support, what I want you to walk away with today is to make sure that that support allows you to feel seen, heard, and understood so that you can express yourself fully. And that is why I do what I do today. I don't want other people to feel that being alone is their only choice. And I help stressed and anxious people that are on a cancer journey accomplish less anxiety. And a decreased fighting mode so that they can feel fulfilled and having an impact on others no matter how much time they have without being self-critical and sacrificing time with family. So this is what I work on when I work with clients. So if you're willing to embrace your inner pirate, please reach out to me. Please email me. And you don't have to do this alone. I understand what you're going through. And I want to thank you so much for attending this talk today. And now, if anyone has any questions at all, we have some time here at the end before we're done, and I would love to be able to. You can put your any questions or comments in the chat. How can a patient use your tools when anxiety hits out of nowhere during a scan or visit? I'll take the pirate off hat for that one. That's excellent, Lana. So that's what I like to do, the fingertips, and there's also breath work you can do. I like to do in counts of 4. That's what works for me. There's all sorts of other different ways to breath work. An inhale of 4, and then you hold it for 4 seconds, exhaling it for 4 seconds, and then you pause for 4 seconds. And even just repeating that 3 times, I find does help calm me down. The fingertips, the palm rubbing, that can also be something that if it does hit out of somewhere, especially during, a scan or a doctor's visit, I believe that's easily accessible to you as well. If you're able to listen to music, depending on where you are, that's also, acceptable. I know that can be a little bit difficult, especially when we're in the MRI machines. Well, we're kind of always hold breathing when we're in an MRI. So that might be a little bit, but sometimes just those fingertips. Any other questions? Feel free to in the chat. Looking through some of the chat here, Kristen, really enjoying your talk. Thank you so much. I agree with journaling. Right. I don't have the desire to look back, but it does feel good to get it out. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that helps you. It is certainly helpful to me, and it's definitely something that I think helps, and to not reread it. That's just me. I'm glad that works for you. Yes, can't wait for COVID to be done. Aren't we all? Get back dancing with friends. Oh, I love the fact that you dance. Outlets make us feel good. Really enjoying your talk. I appreciate that. Yes, dancing is definitely something that we like to do. We actually took swing dance lessons, and then that turned into, well, let's start dressing the part. And my husband has an expertise for that, and we try. Some of it is actual vintage clothing. Some of it is also reproduction clothing. So we like to do that as well. If anybody else has any other questions, please feel free to just put those in the chat. And that's, something that with body mind is to get that connection. So we're not swirling in our heads, which is very easy to do with this and helps us to ground back down into the body. And I'm actually going to be presenting again tomorrow, same bad time, same bad channel at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So if you joined us late, or if you have other questions that might come into mind after this, please feel free to join me tomorrow as well. And again, if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. I can come back later and look at those. And you're more than welcome to reach out and email me, Michelle@willowmoonhealing.com. I'd be more than happy to answer any other questions about that, about body mind coaching. And oh, thank you so much, Bobby. I appreciate that. It is quite a journey, and it's always a journey. It's it's never changing, and it is difficult. A lot of people don't understand it. And oh, thank you so much, DS. I appreciate that. It's it can be rough, but we can do it. You have avenues of support, and I am definitely one of those avenues. I've walked the walk. I understand. And if there's no other questions, I think that this would be a great place just to wrap up. Thank you so much again for joining me today in your talk. I hope you enjoy the rest of the symposium. Perhaps I'll see you again tomorrow. Good luck with everything. Good luck with yourselves, with your own journey. And I hope to talk to you soon. Take care, everyone, and take care of each other.